what's octane? Let's get the octane out the way. Since we're cetane versus octane, and why sulfur and aromatics suck for diesels. Well, octane is the ability to resist starting to detonate or starting to ignite under compression. And then by the time the piston comes up, or slightly before, based on the quality of the fuel and how ready, you know, if it's in a fully vaporized or gassy state or not, by the time, I mean, if it is before by compression already, then you can retard the ignition back closer to top dead center. So it's more efficient that way as well. And then it'll combust faster. I've talked about this in my Wes Takes on Scotty Kilmer's mileage claims video, where I agree with him about the claims about the gasoline pills, additive pills. They're all shit. The closest thing you got is if you actually dissolved pure naphthalene in mothballs, in like 1 or 2 mothballs, and dissolved them in gas, put them in a tank, and preheated the fuel, and then let it watch it pick up and go. You're like, whoa, baby. That's possible. Or better yet, having some naphthalene, having a little bit of a couple of naphthalene mothballs dissolved into 1 can of gasoline, shook up, poured in the tank, and then you before topping it off, you do, you know, after you've gotten your ideal how many ounces of acetone with fuel additive mixture, how much of that mixture works good in your gas tank, right? And then, you know, before topping off, you have 5 gallons of gas. You want to in a gas tank with 2 mothballs shook up, and put in there, and you preheat the fuel as it's coming out your injector. That actually is the closest thing to a gasoline pill you're realistically gonna get. And it can work. You gotta know how to do it. You gotta be careful because naphthalene can settle back out somewhat more easily. But if you preheat it, pressurize it, it'll eject out the injector and it'll burn. It'll work okay. But there's some stuff to do. And there's a whole other couple of videos going into that. But I'm not advocating it here. I'm not going to advocate it at all because that could get me in trouble. I'm not doing that. Smokey Eunuch told an inventor by the name of Paul Pantone, he talked about it on one of his little radio shows, and California started immediately saying not to use it in anything but for killing moths. Oops. Yeah, Paul called Smokey Eunuch up and said, "Hey, you got any other little tricks? Got a few tricks I can do with a car?" He's like, "Yeah, do this. Pop, pop, and make sure it's mixed in before it's in the gas tank, in the goddamn gas tank." You know, getting that big old fucking pipe in that fucking hat. Make sure it's dissolved in the goddamn gas before you put it in the goddamn tank. I gotta go talk about some guys wanting to drive in the goddamn midget and sprinter in the bush cars. You know. That, you know. Sorry, it was a horrible attempt at impression of Eunuch. Biggest mechanic cheat in history. Fucking brilliant bastard. Basically, that's the closest thing. So anyways, I'm done with that. That kind of shit is the closest thing you're going to get to a gasoline fuel pill, and even that, you're talking about, I'm not going to advocate you doing that, because, yeah, naphthalene's a bit, fucky. Go to Project Farm and you'll see why I call it a little bit fucky. It started solidifying at the intake of a carburetor before it can actually stay fully dissolved, and it clogged up the fucking carburetor. So what I'm talking about, example of what I'm talking about. So I'm just straightening up my bed a little bit as I talk to you. So yeah, octane is resistance to detonation and not igniting under compression, and holding out until an actual spark, or ideally a plasma ball, goes BAM! Makes it go BAM! Whoosh, flash, pressurized, quickly shoves that piston downward as it flies downward. Ideally, combustion, the burning is completed before, a little before 20 degrees after top dead center, and everything's done what it needs to do. As the piston flies the fuck down, and most of your emissions are prevented from ever being generated or formed in the. So a lot of freed up oxygen could trick sensors. That's why they have signal adjustments for that, to let it go while letting it work as normal. Less cleaning you have to do to oxy sensors, less shit done to the catalytic. Catalytic converters could last longer. Things like that can actually be done with the EFIE. If you want to preheat your fuel, you're going to need an EFIE, and these will be the potential benefits from cleaner combustion, more freed up oxygen, and not letting it trick the signal to the computer anymore. So it's the opposite of a cheat device. I've said this shit repeatedly too. Anyway, resisting combustion, resisting the chance of igniting under compression, and bam, whoosh, goes down. So that's octane. Resisting igniting under compression, and then getting ignited by a power source to start igniting, and then bam, flash, quickly shoves the piston downward, and it's done. That's octane. That's octane. Cetane is the polar opposite. If you read the Wikipedia where it claims cetane works similarly to how octane works in gasoline, that sentence is objectively false. It's only true in the sense that the higher the octane, the better for a spark or plasma ignited engine or auto cycle, because it's a fucking it was an engine design theorized by a French engineer and physicist, and I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me. Fuck you, don't call me an illiterate faggot. I already know. Fuck you. So what happens? Oh, I had to pop that foot. So a guy named Nikolaus Otto from Germany actually brought it into practice, and that's why it's called the Otto cycle, but named after Nikolaus Otto from Germany. It's been called that ever since. So now the diesel cycle was obviously named after Rudolf Diesel. So Rudolf Diesel invented this engine, even though Herbert Ackroyd Stewart and Hornsby and Sons company were working together to create their take on a compression ignition engine, which did work pretty good. It's too expensive though, and Rudolf Diesel went further and made it anyways, as you know the diesel engine and know the majority of the diesel engine history, or the beginnings of it, the French auto company suggested for him to try running his stationary diesel engines on peanut oil. So he tried it and said, damn, this could be the lubricant and the total loss of lubricant and the fuel for the engine. This could be great, an independent power plant for peanut plantations. This would be awesome. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have the same potential today because total loss lubrication is not very practical, and it's better used as a motion providing engine anyway. So. Now, if that was used with biodiesel using methanol and butanol 50-50, you got a different story. Oh yeah, baby! Oh yeah! So. I just picked my bed and made it up. Now, since cetane is the opposite, well, how does it work? Well, cetane is two measures. The higher, so I'll explain it like this: the higher the cetane number of a fuel for a diesel engine, the sooner the detonation flame front caused by sucking in the air and squeezing it so tight it gets hot, critical. Practically a critical point. How short the time it takes for the diesel to squirt out that high pressure nozzle, that squirt nozzle, fairly high pressure squirt nozzle, what the diesel injector really is. sophisticated nozzle. Shoots out of there. The time between when the diesel shoots out the ejector nozzle, how short the time span between that shooting out and the detonation caused flame front around the nozzle starts. So the higher the cetane, the sooner that detonation started, flame front around that nozzle starts happening. So, and part 2, the higher the cetane number, the quicker, the shorter the time window between when the flame front around the ejector nozzle starts and the burning generates the first noticeable rise in pressure. So high cetane means quicker detonation flame front and quicker noticeable pressure rise, which means quicker started, smoother, better combustion of diesel fuel. What does sulfur do to harm this? Well, first off, it takes oxygen away from diesel and it starves it, the diesel molecules, creating sulfur oxides and sulfates, which go into the atmosphere and contribute to sulfuric acid rain. And sulfur oxides were peddled to use by the globalists for geoengineering for climate change, which is already retarded because because sulfur oxides are fucking lung irritants. Then you have next obvious fucking problem. The next obvious fucking problem. Lester, is that you? Okay, buddy. I'll be right back, folks, and we'll get back to this. Okay, we started back. So we established that sulfur oxides are nasty, sulfates are nasty, and yeah. May I just expose that that the chemtrail conspiracy buffs had a grain of truth to their idea after all, but the hypothesis in question was not fit engineering and economically practical, because to put chemtrails at the end of a fucking airplane nozzle where the thruster, the afterburner of the thruster is super hot, it could destroy the chemical atomization nozzle and line from just the raw fucking heat. See the problem here? And besides that, it would be hard to fucking conceal. It would be found out one way or another way too easily. And for all planes to do it, the scalability's next to shit. Yeah. But the geoengineering of aerosols that had sulfur dioxide and shit is the grain of truth in this thing. Like I said, it's a fucking lung irritant. Fucking lung irritant. Fucking clown world. Sad. Very depressing. It's very fucking depressing. I made a couple of recording attempts at this, and two of them I fucking broke down into a fucking screaming rant. One I actually broke down into two screaming rants, losing my fucking tits. Yay for me, bitch! Woohoo! Good. That's good. They work. That works so good. Yeah. Put these bitches on and use them. Had to gorilla glue these shoes together. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. Soles, modern soles are fucking AIDS. Gorilla glue them. Fix it. heavy bottle Gorilla Glue. Hey, Lester. Here, buddy. Anyway, so you got the point. So that sulfur dioxide, salt, and sulfate putting out in the atmosphere, it's a direct lung irritant, contributes to sulfuric acid or battery acid rain because it reacts chemically to water vapor and stuff in the clouds which generates the sulfuric acid because in solar energy. Yeah. And that contributes to abnormal or not smooth or irregular or uneven burning of the diesel, and bad and poor burning of the diesel, in order to which leads to then the generation of particulates, which is dust to particles of soot. You don't want to breathe that, folks. Trust me, it's not pretty. Shit can settle down and is relatively harmless until you just stir it back up in the air and you breathe it in. So it's nice until it's harmless until it isn't. NOx, which is irregular burning in the interaction of the air and the lengthened burn time as well, that this will cause to some degree. In those interactions between oxygen and nitrogen generates nitrogen oxides. Then there's nitrated hydrocarbons and then hydrocarbons. So nitrated hydrocarbons, and NOx will contribute to smog, but NOx will also go in the clouds and generate nitric acid rain to some degree, which is also pretty fucking bad. So there you have that. Yeah, that was my Sam Kinison impression for you. Oh! Oh! It's fucking shit! Okay. Why you let this in the atmosphere, you asses? Oh! There. Sorry if the impression sounded like Lewis Black and Sam Kinison had a fag child. Then, top it off, you also create carbon monoxide as well. Even though diesels are technically low carbon monoxide making engines in the first fucking place. Now, aromatics suck because what happens there is they hold out, kind of like how octane works, but they hold out against combustion, lengthening the combustion time, contributing to heat saturation, more so I imagine than the sulfur. And that creates the bedrock for more NOx and nitrated hydrocarbons, particulate matter, and CO as well, because of the uneven, fucky combustion that's not smooth and proper running. The only way you could justify having a high octane fuel is if you disperse it very thinly as a homogeneous charge through the intake air and to make it into an super extreme, the most extreme lean homogeneous charge to expand the flame front, so it actually, when the flame front instead forming around the detonation flame front no longer forms just around the nozzle but forms through the whole combustion chamber. So you're using that homogeneous charge principle to expand the flame front and make it spread throughout the whole combustion chamber at once, speeding up and making a smoother combustion and faster combustion, getting the work done a bit sooner. Which, if you've got a medium speed diesel engine like a Detroit, this will really benefit it like a motherfucker. Try the damn Heiko 2DT on a Detroit. I promise you, you are going to get some results. You will get results. So, and if you preheat the fuel before injecting, and like I told you, you'll also get a big gain in mileage and in power and in lower emissions. because a lot of that shit's still mechanical, and you don't have to worry about. You can get emissions waivers and then flip them off when you're still going pretty smooth. Fuck you, bitch. Down the highway screaming. So. Octane, the higher in gas engines, the better. Cetane, the higher in diesel engines, the better. If you want to drastically cut diesel pollution, get all the majority of the aromatics out that you can and still be cost effective. Get all the sulfur out and put at least 2 to 3% biodiesel, so you'll put back all the lubricity. That's just the ability to make an oil slick, the ability to lubricate or make an oil slick between running parts called lubricity. Put all the lubricity that was lost from taking the sulfur out, and then adding another 1 or 2% for overkill, and your diesel engine will last longer and will thank you in a way for it. And you drastically cut. And if you do this, you'll also cut those emissions down just by taking the sulfur and the aromatics out. That's why FT synthetic diesel and synthetic kerosene and jet engines have lower amounts of those particulates, hydrocarbons, nitrated hydrocarbons, CO, and NOx across the board. Aromatics be shit. I'll see you guys later.